Hello everyone, my name is Teacher Lena and welcome to my channel. On my channel, I like to talk about things that can help you to build your online teaching career. So if that is stuff that interests you, then you're in the right place. And in this video, I want to talk to you about Allschool updates. I recently applied to Allschool and I did a whole video about that, and I said that I would keep you updated on my path and what happens with my journey with Allschool. So I have a few updates, one being Classpod and another being what happened to my class that I listed. So let's get into what happened. And if you do decide to apply to Allschool, if you haven't done so already, please look in my description box. I do have a referral link. You can use that referral link. Let me know that you used it and I can help you with the process. If you have any questions, I can help you along the way, with whatever I know. I'm still new to the company, so I'm still learning myself, but I've worked for many companies online, so I could help you with what I do know. So just let me know if you use it. All right, so I listed my first class on Allschool, and as I mentioned in my last video, I only wanted to do a one-time class just to see how it goes, and so that one-time class came and it went and nobody signed up for it. So I'm going to put more classes up and do a little modifications. I think the time of day was really the big problem, because they do have a lot of students that are in Singapore, and although I made my class later in the day that could suit Singapore students in the morning, I just don't think it was really one of their more prime times. Even though they do have prime times, I don't think it was one of their better times. So I'm going to try a different time and see what happens with that class. But yeah, nobody signed up for it. And that's usually what happens when you are a first-time teacher on a platform. Usually takes a little while before you actually get somebody to sign up for a class. And sometimes you got to try a lot of different class types, class times, and even different classes. So I need to make a couple more classes for the platform, put them out there and see who I can catch. I say, cast your nets wide and then you'll get a few fish. But if you just do one class, it's kind of hard to catch many. So we'll see what happens with that. But I did look into Classpod because when I was applying, I did not really want to take the time to learn about Classpod right then. It was just a little bit too overwhelming for me. So I looked into Classpod and what some of the differences were, because you have the option of teaching with Classpod or teaching with Zoom. So if you teach with Zoom, they will take more of a percentage away from your class price. But if you teach with Classpod, they take less of a percentage. And right now, the percentage for them taking away for using Zoom is 15%, and the percentage that they will take away for using Classpod is 13%. I believe it was a little bit bigger of a gap at one point, and it just kind of closed. The gap has closed a little bit, but that's what it is right now. And they are going to update their prices or their charges percentages sometime next month, so that being April. So I'll keep you posted about what will happen with that. But I did come up with a whole list of things of what Classpod is like to teach with as I'm learning about it before actually using it. And what I learned was that it's a lot like using some of these other platforms that I've used as being an online teacher with ESL companies. Many companies have their own little teaching platform that they've created and designed for their company. And this one is really familiar when you're teaching with a large group class. It's much like using that type of platform. So I taught with, and I still am a teacher with Bling ABC. And that, if anybody teaches with Bling ABC, this is very similar to what they have for Bling ABC and with iTutor Group too. I felt like iTutor Group was similar, but iTutor Group just doesn't have as many students as you can have with Bling. Bling, you can have up to like 25 students in your class, and with Classpod, it looked like you can have up to 12 students. iTutor Group was a little bit less, but yeah, just with the way that you can maneuver the kids and show certain kids on the stage, as they call it, that really reminded me of what it was like using the Bling ABC when I was looking at the Classpod type. Because like I said, you could have 12 students. That is what they said you can use in the practice class. I'm not sure if you can have more than that, but from what I know, you can use 12 students in the class, and you can have certain students showing for everyone to see, and then you have some that are kind of in waiting that you can bring up so that more people can see, and so that those 12 students that are visibly seen by everybody, you can maneuver those students to come down onto the main visible area, which they call the stage, so that they're just like the center points, and they can write on the screen and do other things. And you can give them that function as the teacher. You can allow them to write, you can allow them to type, and you give them authorization, and then they're able to do what they want. You can see what they are doing. Okay, so you do have some control and knowing what they're doing or what they're about to do. So yeah, speaking of control, I felt like using the Classpod was giving the teacher a lot of control over their class. So you can bring the students down so that those students are seen, they can participate. You can have more than one student on the stage. Maybe they could do a little game or talk to each other, or have a contest between the two of them. So it kind of makes it a little bit more interesting and engaging for the students. And like I said, they can write on the screen. And what I noticed was that when the students are writing on the Classpod type, you give them authorization to write. So instead of them trying to find like where they have to, get the button so that they can actually annotate on the screen, like they would do with Zoom, with Classpod, you give them authorization, and I believe they can see it a little bit easier. I don't exactly see what's on their side, but from what I remember using Bling ABC, the other platform, it was a little like once the teacher gives you authorization, it's like real easy for the student to know, oh, this is where I press, this is where I write. So it's a lot easier for the student to find and be able to know what to do when it's their turn to write on the screen. So you can give the student that authorization, and you can take it away. And yeah, we know if we've been teaching online, sometimes you need to take that ability away from your students, and you can do that with Zoom, but you can also do it with the Classpod platform. You can also mute your students, you're right, and you can unmute them. You can unmute them, and you can mute them very easily. Now that's something that is huge for me because I teach a lot of young kids on Zoom. One, it's hard for them to find things, and two, muting and unmuting, all those functions oftentimes have to be done by the parent if the student doesn't know what to do. So if you as a teacher can mute the student and unmute the student, that is really helpful. I love the fact that you could do that. So that is something that I think is a really good benefit for teaching with the Classpod. It gives you control over the muting, the writing, and you can also give out rewards. So rewards are really huge for the kids. The kids like to get stars, and they like to compete against each other to see who can have the most stars in the class. Most kids like this. Some kids don't. I have a class that actually, speaking of rewards, I have one class that actually said, we don't want to do any more competitive games. We'd rather not. So with that class, I don't do competitive things. But, most kids do like it, and they learn, you win some, you lose some, and that's just life. But yeah, on their platform, you can actually give them stars, several stars, when they do a good job. So it makes it a little bit more interesting when they can do that. Now, another thing that was a little bit concerning for me was the ease of being able to use my materials on the Classpod app. I was hearing some things about that aspect, and I was a little bit nervous, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't really want to use Classpod. But what I learned was that, one, you can share your screen with Classpod like you would do with Zoom, but when you share your screen, it does take away from the features of being able to have the students on stage, and I don't think they can write as well. So it takes away some of the features that they're able to do when you share your screen. But you don't have to worry about converting your files or doing anything to your files. Uploading your files. I mean, they're right there on your computer, so you share your screen. So there's benefits to being able to share your screen with Classpod, or just like you would with Zoom. But you can upload your materials to the Classpod app. So they say that you should upload your materials before the class actually starts. So you would actually download them to your computer, upload them to the Classpod, and then when the class actually starts, you can add them to your class. So once they're uploaded to your file, then you can locate them, and then you can add them to the class so that everyone can see what's actually being what you're trying to view for the class. But I did see that you can use PDFs, you can use GIF files, GIF, 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 however you want to say it. You can use PPT, and you can use JPEGs, and PNG. But it didn't say Google Slides. So that made me think, what am I going to do about that? So I did a little research, and I saw that, okay, the Google Slides can be downloaded as a Microsoft PPT file, because PPT is really the Microsoft version of Google Slides. So you can download the Google Slides as a Microsoft PPT file, and then you can upload that form of your materials to the Classpod platform. So that seems to be pretty easy. I haven't actually done it yet, but in my research, that's what I found. You can actually do that. So that made me feel better about using my curriculum and not having to do a whole lot of adjustments to my curriculum in order to, make a few extra bucks using Classpod. And also, they said, because after thinking about that, I was thinking, am I going to be able to manipulate those files on Classpod, because I do a lot of manipulating of my files when I'm using Google Slides. I can, layer things, copy and paste things, and such. But it says that you still have the ability to animate on the slides, to copy and paste, and all of the how did they say? Okay, so it said you could use the animation features. It said you can use interactive coursework, on their platform. So if it's interactive with the Google Slides, it should be able to be interactive. Any animation that you've created in your slides, it should be able to be done on their Classpod also. So we'll see how easy that is to be done. I will keep you posted after I'm able to see just how well all of that is able to be, how easy it is to actually do. But to sum it up, would I want to use the Classpod, or would I want to continue just using Zoom to teach with Allschool? Well, I did a little pro and con list to see, how they measure up. And actually, the pros for using Classpod outnumbered my pros for using, or the cons, basically, the pros for using Zoom. So, like I've said, they have good class management features. So you can really, as a teacher, you can control your class. You can mute, unmute real easily. You can write on the screen. So it makes it a lot easier for you to control what the student's able to do. And then you can maneuver the students so that they can engage on the stage and, take them off of the stage. That's real helpful too. You have the rewards already built in. I would still probably use some of my own reward systems, but they have their reward systems already built in. So that's a plus too. But as for the cons, I'd have to say that, of course, with everything, there's a learning curve. So I'm going to have to learn how to use this material, this new platform. Yes, it seems like it's going to be familiar with what I've already used in the past, but you still got to learn little things that'll be specific to this platform, and how easy it is for my materials to be able to be transferred over. That's still yet to be seen. But once it is transferred, it's done, it'll be done, and then that's not an issue anymore. So those are really the only cons. So it's only 2 cons to all of the pros of, why to use Classpod, plus you do get a little bit more pay because they take less money out, and hopefully that will be even more once they announce the new price or new percentage that they're going to take out. So it seems like there's more pros to use the Classpod. So I will be looking into moving forward with using the Classpod, and I will keep you posted about what will happen with that. But one last thing I do want to say that I did read in some of the materials that they had was that their students, I said before that they have a lot of students that are in Singapore, right? That's probably the majority of their students. They have students in Singapore. They say China. And also they say the eastern and western parts of the U.S. So that would be pretty much all of the U.S. So they do say they have U.S. students. That's what they say, but they didn't really give any percentages about that, but they do say that they have students in those regions right now. They didn't mention any more, but it's good to know that they do have some students who are in America as well as Singapore. So hopefully that will increase our hours of when we'll be able to teach and get students on that platform. So here is the Classpod. I've decided just to show you the functions of it before talking more about it, but this is what it looks like. And you can see up here is where the students would be viewed at the top, and then the main stage, or they say the blackboard, is right here. This is your main stage. And then on the sides, these are some of the controls that you can use for your class. Here's the content tab where you would find your library of files, and then you can click on the class tab. This would show who's in your class right here, and you can control even their mute features over here, and you can have more management of your students on this side. I believe this is where you'll actually switch your classes or the students to see who's going to be on the stage and who's not going to be on the stage. And then if we go to the tools, it says screen share here, and then you can on stage frame. I don't know what on stage frame would be, but you can share your screen like I will talk more about. And then you can, on the bottom, you can see it says you can add a blackboard, or you can flip through your files if you have more files to flip through here. And on the students window, you can see there's a volume mute there. You can authorize them to be able to use their tools, and you have your star feature right there. And if I can pull the student down and drag them to the stage so that the students can see them and focus on them and what they are going to be doing in the class. Like, you can have more than one student here, and then they can do little competitions and other things when they're on stage. Now, as far as the teacher goes, you are here, you can drag yourself to the screen too, and you can drag yourself out. And when the class starts, you are only seen once the class begins. So you might see your picture up here, but you actually have to press start, which we didn't do, but you actually have to press start before the students will actually see you. So you're hidden until you press start, and then the students can see you. All right, you all, that is about all for my updates with Allschool, and If you have any questions, please leave them below in the comments. If you're interested in teaching with Allschool, I do have a link down below that you can use in order to sign up. Let me know if you use my link. You can just email me at TeacherLenaLife@gmail.com, and I'd love to know that you used it, and I'd be able to help you with any questions that you have. But, I'm still new to this platform, but I would help you with whatever I know, being a teacher who's taught online for a while now. So, all right, you all, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.